Tuning you in now to the LBX show with your host, Brandon Wiley. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the LBX show for June 7th. This is number 80. So we are making our way through up to those triple digits. I want to get to those triple digits. All right. Anyway, we have a great show lined up for you today. First, we're going to dive into some news you should know. Got a few things to cover. And then we'll go into a robust open and shut with Kevin Williams to review all the opening and closing trends from the last week. And there are more and more opening trends, and we will talk about that coming up. Finally, Adam Pratt is back with Arcade Corner, and he covers Park Avenue Open Day in London. And this is hosted by UDC and Electrocoin. And in fact, actually, Kevin Williams will go a little bit deeper into that in Sound Off as well, because he was actually able to visit there. But Adam's going to cover a few key things from that event. All right. That being said, let's dive into some news you should know. All right. Well, we've got our Intercard lineup. This is a meeting with the experts for wherever Intercard is, and they've got a couple of shows coming up. So some of them I'll be at, some of them I won't be at, but you've got Asia Expo actually this week. So coming up this week, the 9th to the 12th, they're in Hong Kong, and you're going to be able to catch up with Intercard there. And, again, if you have any questions beyond even just cashless systems and gaming, you can absolutely go and find them and talk with them. They have a lot of great experts, former operators who are working for them, etc. So anyway, definitely a great resource. So then you've got Bull Expo, June 28th to the 2nd. I will be there in Nashville to hang out with you for anybody. I'm just walking the show floor, seeing what's new in both the bowling industry, but also the attractions industry in general. And then they'll be at IAPA's Latin American Summit. This is in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And that is August 18th to the 19th. I've been to Latin American Summit in the past in Guatemala, and it's always a great event. And I'm sure this one will be just as good. Then August 18th to 20th, the same time, not the same people, obviously. They will be at the Southern Amusement and Entertainment Expo, and this is in Duluth, Georgia. So that is where you can find Intercard over the next few months during the summer. Obviously, summer is a little bit slower because the events take off usually through kind of that July, August timeframe. But this is where you can find Intercard. So that is the Intercard lineup for 2026. All right. So wanted to talk about a new announcement this week. Adyen, which is a global financial technology platform, announced that Roller, a point of sale system for our industry, has launched Roller Capital, and they're using Adyen as the back-end platform for that. So basically what this is going to do is provide Roller's users with really interesting, fast, flexible business financing directly through the Roller platform using Adyen's embedded finance offering. So already, I guess the partnership has seen about $1 million in US dollars in basically business loans provision during the initial rollout to a select group of customers. This basically enables Roller customers who are obviously like family entertainment centers, trampoline parks, etc., to access really easy financing to invest in upgrades, staff, inventory, without like the hurdles you would get through legacy banking. So Roller, basically, I'm going to dig into this a little bit further, actually, with a guest gab next week with Chris Rich. He's the VP of Financial Services from Roller. He's going to be joining me on the show during a guest gab to discuss this new Roller Capital product. Find it really interesting. This strikes me very similar to the Stripe Capital component. So if you ever use Stripe to process your credit cards, they have a capital program where if you have subscriptions or you have things that, memberships, etc., that have recurring and very regular, predictable capital and cash flow cycles, then they're able to give loans based on those cycles. And so my guess is, and my understanding is that this is very similar product to that Stripe Capital product. And so excited to have Chris on the show next week to talk a little bit more about that. All right, this one is a little bit different. I don't normally cover venues on the new news you should know, but I just thought this one was really interesting and beautiful and unique. So there is a park called Upla in just outside of Montreal, up in Canada, and is the largest outdoor trampoline park in North America. So they have a suspended trampoline course. They have slides and swinging vines and all sorts of things. They have welcomed 300,000 visitors since opening in 2022. So not a great high number of visitors, really, when you consider the fact that they're actually surprisingly for Montreal, Canada, open year round. And so they have different experiences. They have a fall experience and a winter experience. And if you go on their website, you see their pictures, you see, kids and adults and parents jumping in like full parkas in the snow. But what's unique about this is it is one of those soft play experiences, but it's the heavy corded and super colorful things. So the snow might fall on it, but then that soaks and filters right through onto the ground. And so you're actually, because you're elevated up in the air, you can have this type of outdoor experience, and it's really interesting. So there's ramps and vertical tunnels and slides. There's a whole dedicated area with slides and balls, and they even have a lounge that they've added recently that has that's suspended 40 feet in the air, and you can just basically sit on these cushions and just look out at the trees and the forest. And I'm sure in the fall, like there's examples on their website, just the colors of the trees are just phenomenal. This part of Canada. And and so they actually have a controlled rolling zone. They have other walkways and connections, and so they've got these cool little like wooden cabins with like funky crawlways that go and connect them, and then slides that go back down to the ground, and then you can climb back up. And so all really super cool stuff. And they have a little place for kids, so it's dedicated space for kids 5 and under to enjoy alongside their parents. And then they also have a rainbow tree village. That's what we're looking at here, which is the colorful tree houses. And they can walk from cabin to cabin. And then what's really cool is when the sun, I mean, you just see this just beautiful and vibrant and among the trees. And I just think it's a gorgeous trampoline park and course and ropes course and soft play, right? So it's kind of a mixture of all those things combined. And what's really cool is at nighttime, they transition and it becomes all these really bright, colorful lights. And the evenings tend to attract teenagers and young adults. There's upbeat music that fills the forest. So they've got music pumping, and they've got all these really cool lighting. And, it's just a really interesting and innovative space and just gorgeous, right? Like, it's just the photography is phenomenal. Anyway, it's $35 per person. If you're just kind of wondering, okay, well, what does something like this price out? If you're looking and considering doing something like this in your area or even inside of your facility, this type of ropes course, $35 per person. It's free for children 0 to 2 and adults 65 and over. And then $10 for non-participating visitors. So anyway, that is Upla this is their 3rd location in the Canadian market. But this one is just outside of Montreal. So anyway, just cool thing to just wanted to cover. And again, here's like a little picture of them in the fall with those bright colored trees, the reds and the oranges, and it's just phenomenal. So anyway, all right. So I want to just touch on, so some of you are maybe familiar with the changeover at Disney World, the rock and roller coaster at Disney's Hollywood Studios moved from, it used to be Aerosmith, and just recently it was been remade to be the Muppets rock and roller coaster. And it's about the band Electric Mayhem that is trying to get to in a limousine, trying to get to the venue. And you go on this crazy roller coaster, and the coaster itself hasn't changed, but the theming and the storyline and everything else has changed. The music has changed as well, and so obviously then the overall experience. But the reason I bring this up is I thought it was really interesting what they had done to capture their audio animatronics. So obviously Disney has pioneered in audio animatronics figurines. Like, this was something that the Walt originally brought to the theme park industry. And its latest robot is probably the most unusual that I've come across. And it's the first one that used motion capture technology on a Muppet. So this is Scooter. So if you're not familiar with Scooter, he is he's kind of like the geeky guy who like keeps the whole Muppet show and typically is like the behind stage manager, who's the one that keeps everything running, the whole ship running. So he's usually the right hand man to Kermit the Frog. And anyway, they wanted to build an animatronic version of Scooter for this for the rock and roller coaster. And they actually, instead of using, you would think, okay, they're going to go about using a robot and make that shape like Scooter. They actually did the opposite. So they actually did they recorded the real life the movements of a real life Muppet performer. So they took Scooter, they put hand tracking, but they also put hand tracking on the hand of the Muppet performer as well. And they created a robotic system that actually mimics the hand gestures used to control Scooter's mouth and arm stick. So it is, so instead of it being a robot actually making a scooter, it's actually a robotic hand and a robotic hand that's actually controlling a Muppet instead. And I thought that was really cool because then you're going to get a very similar feel as you would of a Muppet. So I thought that was pretty cool. And, whether it's news you should know or not, you got it because that's me and this is the stuff I like. So anyway, you had to listen to it. That is news you should know. Coming up after the break, we've got Open and Shut with Kevin Williams. Intercard makes cashless easy with award-winning readers, self-serve kiosks, real-time reporting, and flexible guest payment options. From play cards and credit cards to mobile payments and QR codes. Since introducing the industry's first card system in 1989, Intercard has helped operators reduce cash handling, increase guest spending, and run smarter venues. Intercard is the world leader in cashless technology. If you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you'll become one soon. Visit intercardinc.com to learn more.
Hey, a big hello to everyone to this latest Open and Shut. How are we, Brandon?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to seeing you in just like a week and a half.
A week and a half. Time has accelerated to great lengths.
Indeed.
Oh, and there's been a lot of acceleration in other ways as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's dive into it.
So, jumping straight in, and we can see that blip has disappeared. And for consecutive weeks, we've had a good roundup of venues. I would point to a trend that I'm noticing. I'm already halfway compiling next week's coverage of new openings, and I am seeing a kind of a pivot towards a certain type of direction of new openings, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. For those of you that love the Taurus of Pain, there it is, and you can again see the slight skew in the new openings. Many of these are chain openings, so it is just more of the same, as it were, as you expand your operation. So let's jump straight in, and our friends at Time Zone have two facilities opening, franchises.
Time Mission, just to be,
Time Mission. I have Time Zone on the mind for another reason.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Time Mission, and they're 10,000 square foot of multiple active entertainment in arenas are rolling out. They seem to be a companion piece, as we were talking about in one of the last talks about this. LOL, one of their larger franchisees, uses these as a cluster support, where the Chicago facility, from the information that was given over to me, I wasn't aware that it was part of the LOL franchise, and it may be another company. But again, that could just be an omission to a quickly rushed out press release. Again, the same size, and again, no F&B components. So this is kind of a escape room surrounded by other franchised entertainment.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they're actually located, and I don't know if they're in the same facility, if it's next door, but there's a Slick City right next to them, according to the map. And so, that's not a bad thing. They are definitely non-competitive as far as the type of attraction mix, but, obviously we know that clustering is valuable when it comes to entertainment options. I do think it's always a miss, though, when you don't take advantage of food and beverage. You don't have an F&B component, even if it's just a bar or something, with some basic bar snacks or something like that, but just to boost both the per cap but also the dwell time. It just blows my mind when we see this. We see this with things like Time Mission. We see these things with like Sandbox VR and escape rooms, especially as well. Like this, for whatever reason, they don't see the value or the opportunity in putting in F&B, and I think it's a miss. I love the Time Mission brand. LOL Entertainment does a good job with their operations and all of their different models, but they really shy away from F&B, and I think it's a big opportunity missed.
They're scared of F&B. It is a subject that we're going to touch upon in a future sound off. And it is a mentality. Not just having a food or drink component also means that you're not equipped to have a dedicated party room component. And as we've said previously, the party room, the party group hire social engagement is a major factor in driving the current audience, as well as achieving repeat dwell and repeat visitation. Moving on, and the ugly duckling. I don't find them ugly, but they are the sister that is never talked about, locked up in the attic. Peter Piper's Pizza is part of the CEC entertainment chain that also has their Chuck E. Cheese, and they've been quiet of late, rolling out new facilities, but we've suddenly seen a spurt, and that spurt, I think, has been orchestrated by the new management, the C-suite group, sort of doubling down and ensuring that they have a broad mix. For me, Peter Piper Pizza is a vanilla compared to the pistachio that is Chuck E. Cheese, and the Tutti Frutti that would be Chuck's Arcade, if we're going to take that analogy to new heights. The issues are, for me here, it is a pizza facility first with an entertainment component, and I can show you a number of venues in traditional out of the core city areas in the entertainment sector in North America that fulfill this. 123 facilities is nothing to sneeze at, and I would advise greatly the new C-suite at CEC takes a cold, hard look at what they're trying to achieve with Chuck E. Cheese, as well as what they're trying to achieve with Peter Piper.
And I think one of the key differences with Peter Piper Pizza versus Chuck E. Cheese, at least in the North American market, is that Peter Piper Pizza operates as a franchise system. They have a couple of corporate-owned locations that obviously Chuck E. Cheese Entertainment or CEC Entertainment owns, because you have to, as if you're running a franchise. But maybe that is also one of the differences. Maybe they've brought on a new franchise director who is really driving franchise sales for Peter Piper Pizza, and CEC Entertainment decided, hey, like, we've got this thing, like, why not boost it if there are people out there who want to own and operate these types of chains. So that may be why we're seeing that boost as well, and it could be just a new focus from the new management, as you mentioned. And so anyway, I grew up on Peter Piper Pizza. It was a very prominent facility here in the Phoenix market, and so there were more Peter Piper pizzas than Chuck E. Cheese's actually at the time. That's not the case anymore, but when I was growing up many decades ago, that was the case. And so it's nice to see that they're still continuing to move on.
Pizza Hut for your books, Peter Piper for your entertainment.
And exactly.
The last time I had a Pizza Hut and the last time I had a Peter Piper, I think I was surprised by the quality of Peter Piper, especially one of the venues that was close to me in California, in Los Angeles. They had quite a broad pick your own selection when it comes to pizza building, as it were. We'll touch upon this more in Sound Off, but we are now seeing the virtual adventure, VR, free roam, multi-audience arenas, now not just looking at entertainment locations, but dedicated towards what I call flexible space galleries, flexible space, not just galleries, but museum locations, as well as science centers and facilities like this. There's quite a large selection at most major cities of venues that have been set up to offer exhibition, pop-in exhibitions. They're there for 9 months, 6 months, whatever. They open, they attract an audience, and then they move on. Many of these now look at these sites are being attacked or approached towards whether they want to jump on the gravy train that is the virtual adventure large audience business. Again, I will actually go into the financials of operating one of these over a period of time. And you'd argue that the financials have to be good, because if you're opening now in end of May and you're going to be closing in September, and you've only got about 150 odd going through every hour, then you're really going to want to see some return on investment. But we'll go into that a little bit more in detail.
So what, for those of you who are not familiar with The Shed, they are a performing arts and visual arts venue that is just really meant for bringing in artists to come and create things in the space, to have exhibitions. They have actual studio space as well for artists to do the creations and to actually create their stuff that the artists can rent. But it's an amazing facility. And I think it's really interesting that they're now looking at not just pure art creation, but they're actually looking for these types of pop-up experiences like the Black Mirror experience, which is has a pop culture component to it as well as a visual art component, and it's like blurs the lines, I think, between pure art and entertainment. And it's interesting that we're seeing this across the board for other museums and other types of cultural institutions where they're bringing in these types of immersive, quote unquote, immersive XR experiences in addition to their classic art. And I think this is something we're going to continue to see on a regular basis, especially from venues like The Shed that are so innovative and cutting edge.
This isn't new. The first of the backpack free roaming VR experiences in the early days back in 2018, 2019, there were a number of companies that experimented with an artistic feel to this. Backlight did a very popular dancing VR experience that was actually held within the Barbican theatre facility here in London. So it is not new, but it is now profitable, I think, and it is easy to operate. The other thing to bear in mind with these kinds of installations is that they are also riding off of the back of the immersive projection experiences that have also been used in these spaces. Moving on, and another venue that's in the arts and the exhibition sector, this time in Taiwan. They have parachuted in a WeVR. This is a mix. This is both a seated experience in VR as well as a roaming experience, as well as projection mapped. It's a part of Viveland, which is a division of HTC, the headset manufacturers, who have been supporting a number of these kinds of virtual adventure systems. And I would actually say that these kind of relationships between a head-mounted display manufacturer as well as the content developer and the venue is something that is very lucrative, especially when you're dealing with high-level IP.
Yeah, so I certainly think it can be lucrative. I think it's interesting that they're actually partnered with the Taiwan Ministry of Culture. So this isn't just a partnership between a creator, a visual creator and the actual vendor. This is a three-way partnership between Weaver, HTC, and the actual Taiwan Ministry. So in the government partnership. So find it really interesting, and would love to actually experience this.
I would love to do this. There is something about what is going on with HTC and their focus now on location-based entertainment and enterprise going forwards that we can address after AWE in a couple of days' time, when we'll have a lot more information to talk about. Mm-hmm. They are one of the companies that will be presenting at the event, and I think they're going to be dropping the microphone on their future plans. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Silk Hat, staying in Asia, this time in Japan. We talked about Silk Hat taking over the Akihabara famous facility. Again, they're taking over a multi-level traditional Tokyo amusement facility that was well known. They've now spruced it up. They've applied the magic that they did to the Akihabara facility, and they have now 5 floors of amusement and over 170 machines, medals, prizes, videos. From the video, I would say that it's more of the same, but with cleaner floors and less ashtrays. One of the problems we've had with the amusement sector in Japan back in the day is that they were a haven for the smokers. And you know what cigarette smoke does to nice white walls and white machines. And now the world has changed, and post-COVID, the smoking has gone away. These places look dirty. They need sprucing up. And I think Silk Hat is doing a Genda and seeing a great opportunity to clean up, shape up, and increase your audience.
Well, you say they're doing Agenda. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up becoming a part of Genda at some point in the future. But for those of you who are listening, who aren't familiar with just in general the Tokyo landscape, and not the amusement landscape, but just their actual physical infrastructure and architecture, you think of 170 pieces of amusement, but over 5 floors. That is pretty much how everything operates in Tokyo.
Yes.
Is it's vertical. So you have, you may have 20 pieces per floor, or, you have a cluster of cranes or mini cranes or gashapon or whatever on a particular floor. And then as you move up, you have, fewer pieces as the floors the floors change. So you think of a five-story thing. This is not uncommon in Tokyo. This is how their shopping malls are. This is how all of their types of facilities are, just multi-floor stacked on top of each other.
Tokyo, Osaka, Hiroshima, they all follow this kind of verticality. And as one that's had to follow this market very closely, I can, in my sleep, see the layout of what this silk hat will be. On the ground floor, there will be UFOs, unidentified furry objects or crane machines, with a couple of photo sticker editing parlors behind that. Second floor, depending on the layout, they will have put the candy cat out there with the fighters. Third floor will have the DX, the simulators and the dancing machines. Fourth floor will be interesting. That will be medal machines. And fifth floor will be the kludge of all of the others, to try and encourage people to go from the fifth floor and work their way down. I'm sure someone will be able to walk around with a video soon and prove me wrong that they've just totally done it in the opposite. But that used to be the standard. But in this case, minus the reams of smoke on the second, third, and fifth floor. Moving on, and we have Venture, or X-Venture. Interesting, Hong Kong opening, active entertainment, but active entertainment with some gamification, some exergaming. So you've got the slides, you've got the trampolines, but you've also got the digital gamification, the big ball, the enclosed arena, the projection map, and this also includes F&B within it. So there's 26. So kind of a scaled up or scaled down approach to what we were talking about a few sound offs ago about our friends at Joyopolis Sports. The interesting thing about this for me is that this is the breakaway from Kidzania. This was the project that, as with Peter Piper, it was one of those projects that didn't get as much limelight when they broke away. And now we're 3 facilities in. I think this is the first Chinese facility, if I'm correct. And it is, again, going back to what I keep on going on over sportainment and active entertainment. This is a model of what we're going to see appearing in the wider Western market very soon.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing in the Chinese market more than other markets, the integration of digital active play alongside traditional active play. So trampolines, climbing walls, but integrating much more of a digital experience, whether it's from LED floors to, I don't know if that's an actual Sissy Fox or some ripoff of Sissy Fox, but some alternate.
The coloring makes me think that it's the uni.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, they're just integrating so much more on a digital level than we're seeing in active play and adventure parks here in the North American market or even in the European market. And I think it's inevitable that ultimately we'll see this come flowing into these other markets, the Western markets.
Yeah, it is a tidal wave that no one's going to be holding back. And if you're operating a trampoline facility right now that's looking a little tired, if you're not thinking about pivoting in a phygital sportstainment gamification direction with wristbands, with repeat visitations, and in this case with F&B, then you're going to have a very big surprise next year. Moving on, and I was surprised at the number of Minecraft experiences that have popped up and moved on. Again, kind of similar to what we were talking about with the Black Mirror kind of experience, going into available exhibition space for a short period of time. And so far, this 20,000 square foot experience has turned up in Dallas, it's turned up in London, we talked about, it's turned up in Chicago, it's also done I think a European city or two, and now it gets its German installation. It's popular if you look at the TripAdvisors, and they're making hay while the sun is shining on this. How long this will stay like this, and whether we can expect in 2027 Minecraft experience the return, or the quickening, or the Christmas special, building upon the digital interactive elements and the projection mapping of this space, will be telling.
Yeah, as we talked about before, this is, we have covered the Minecraft experience, Villager Rescue in the past, and they're using these physical cubes, again, this digital type experience. And they're moving to different rooms and playing different games, and there's different interactivity with their devices. And so, I think that it definitely fits the pop-up the pop-up concept. This is not something that could survive over a long period of time, potentially in like standalone, unless you're in a market like a high tourist flow market, a high turnover market like a Vegas or a Chicago, right? The Dallas market is a little bit confusing to me, but London could work as well. Again, high turnover potential places where you're going to get that consistent foot flow.
Toronto, London, New York, easy, low hanging fruit. When you start talking about Chicago and Osterhausen in Germany, then you know that they're now pushing it out to the areas that don't normally get the love from the big IP experiences. I would argue with you that if you had a decent content update path, you could drop in one of these experiences linked to the cube and would have a compelling experience. And companies like Immersive Gamebox and even our friends at Velomotion are kind of going down that path. But this is on a much higher level of pop-up engagement and a bigger spend. Moving on, and it's that GeiGo moment. I actually had the chance to have a chat with our GeiGo friends in London during an event that we'll be touching upon in Open and Shut. And they continue, and we have another Chinese facility now. They're, according to my records, their second Chinese facility in Shanghai. When I looked at the walk-around video of this, and I'd like to thank those that shared it, I was surprised at how much retail-attainment, Japanese-themed retail-attainment was at the front of the venue. It felt very much like a mall, a Bandai Namco cross store at the beginning, before we got into the crane machines and then the traditional amusement. Very high development factor. They're having to keep up with a very sophisticated Shanghai amusement market, if you're not familiar with the not just Shanghai, but other parts of China, then please have a look at Brandon's breakneck tour of some of the malls there to see what they're going up against. And I think that they've stuck their flag in the ground at a relative quality.
Yeah, I would agree without having actually been able to visit one of these locations. It would have been great to, I was in Shanghai. It would have been great to pop into a GeiGo. And obviously it's the second one, so there's not very many, and Shanghai's a massive city, but it would have been great to see their differentiation. And it looks like they are clearly trying to differentiate themselves from the other brands and that are there already in the market.
I'm hoping that they'll open one up in Genda soon, so when we next are out there, we'll get a chance. I'm very bad regarding the AA show. I usually stick to factory visits and the exhibition. I don't actually do field trips. So that's something that's going to have to change with my itinerary going forward. And then Sandbox, we have another Sandbox open. It is getting us to that magic 90 number. According to my files, this is the 89th facility. A new one in Florida, another one in the Florida area. And I don't know that much about Solis Entertainment as the franchisees, other than that they didn't want to do F&B in their venue either.
It's another sandbox, another small box with no look. Even if you're not going to do food, do some beverage. Get their little Tony the Tony robot thing or whatever if you need to, but do something. Anyway, it's just such a big missed opportunity, and that they've got their model they're trying to stick with from a franchisee standpoint. So I hope it works for them.
I saw robots at the Chinese show that could be dropped in as vendortainment, and they would give them a coffee or a cocktail component without the vast expense of the previous cocktail robot they used. I know that some of the franchisees burnt their fingers using that high-level first generation robotic arm cocktail maker, but though sticking with one mentality, they're going to become a cropper, and it could be interesting when we get closer to the next financial round for Sandbox, how they look at their franchise model. Because the one thing we know about them is that they're very good at finding franchisees to operate their venues. Going to the shots, we have some shots. This was a little bit of an unhappy one for me. I knew the Flight 509 couple that had instigated this. I was then a senior presenter with the FEU, the Foundations Entertainment University, and they were one of those companies that came to a number of the FEU events that are run by our friends at AME, and they kind of had a dream and an idea written on the back of a napkin, but they were adamant and they rolled it out, and there was a backstory to the Flight 509 branding, and the area was themed, and they worked very well with AEM to get the funding and to write build and the architects and everything, and they rolled out their facilities 2 years ago. And then we knew something was up, because suddenly a couple of months in, we saw that they'd spent quite a large amount of money on rebranding. And sometimes when you're developing a facility for yourself, it doesn't necessarily follow that it's going to be appealing to the target audience that you're going for. We gave them a lot of advice, and from the videos I've seen of the rebrand of the facility, that some of those ideas were thrown out with baby and the bath water. And sadly, we now get the news from their social media field that the 22,000 square facility is closing after only 24 months. I am interested to see if someone else will take a punt at this purpose-built facility that they have created, or whether the reality of the catchment of this particular region was just not enough to sustain what I would call a mixed-use leisure entertainment.
Yeah, it's disappointing. We talked about this on Sound Off almost 2 years ago. 2 years ago, almost to the not quite to the day, but we did cover them. And I had some concerns at the time around their name and their branding, and there was going to be some confusion, especially when you get in and you see their attraction mix. It's laser tag, spin zone, velocity, mini bowling. They have a Doff Hurricane, and then arcades. Like that's it.
That was it.
They call themselves an adventure park as well, which is also a misnomer. We tend to think of adventure parks as things like climbing walls and ropes courses and trampolines and slides and everything else. That's a standard adventure park. And this is not. This was I would argue, a sort of like quasi, I mean, it's an FEC for sure, but it basically is, they don't even have full bowling. It's mini bowling. It's a strange mix of things that just does not really drive that level of repeat visitation and dwell time that you really want to see from your guests that are coming in. And so I'm a little bit unsurprised, unfortunately. But it is always sad to see this kind of thing happen, especially when so much love was poured into an idea.
Hopefully not divulging any confidences. The Foundation's Entertainment Universe does a number of days it's a boot camp for companies getting into the FEC market. It's a boot camp that actually tries to kick people out. We try and dissuade people from developing concepts, because if you shake them hard enough and there's still game to develop it, then you've got a company that will go through the slings and arrows of developing a facility like this. And we also do on the next to last day, we used to do, I don't know if they still do this now, but it was Ask the Experts, where you get a one-on-one with one of the experts. And as I was the XR and immersive entertainment and amusement expert in attendance, these guys sat down with me and they asked me questions. I gave them answers, and then I gave them the list of my concerns. Concern number one, Google search. When you type in flight 509, you'll find out how to get to Cincinnati from the local airport, but you may not have an entertainment facility popping up. Number two, your name of what you're offering is not broad enough, and you're mismatching what an active entertainment is with a location-based or an FEC. The big one for me, really big one for me, is where are the bloody simulators? If you have such a passion for flight, and there was a backstory that was very passionate about flying, why didn't you have flight simulators? It's just set up. Why didn't you have a much more flying entertainment mix? And I was given a lot of reasons why, and it looks like those reasons won. And now, sadly, 24 months on, that price has been paid. I'm not suggesting that I'm a font of all knowledge or that everything I'm saying is gold, but if a thicko like me can just spot those early issues without the operators having a clear reason why they don't want to go down that path, what's the point of having nearly 40 years of experience to impart it to people? But the couple, the family behind this, are very strong, tight-knit, and they have a fantastic relationship with their audience as well as their employees. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see them bounce back. Moving on, and an unusual one for us, Adyen Labs. Getting close to closure of an experimental concept. We'll talk about this in much more glorious detail. But Adyen Labs, who are pushing their Noma AI tool, has been experimenting into the vending industry and now into the bricks and mortar coffee industry. And the whole of that operation that was opened in Sweden was run behind the scenes by AI, by Mona. And Mona was setting the prices for the coffee, ordering the food, well, not food, but the coffee and the supplies, as it were, was also handling the app communication and just being a manager. Mona actually hired human being employees to work behind the counter. You'll have to watch Sound Off to find out how much of a hole the AI system put that facility in after only a few weeks of operation. And if you look back to what happened with their AI-powered vending machines, loyalty vending machines, in a number of New York and LA facilities, we're seeing a pattern.
I'm really looking forward to this discussion on Sound Off. I will hold all of my comments until then. I think this is the one thing I'll just say is I think this was the Adyen Labs having some minor success in San Francisco with their Adyen store, their Adyen market, in San Francisco, and thinking, all right, let's go and see if we can do this in an entirely different European bureaucracy and market and see what happens. And we've seen what happens. So anyway, looking forward to a further discussion in Sound Off.
Ouch. Well, that's it. Of course, hit us up on LinkedIn, We have some stinger reports coming out. I promise. Sadly, being a little bit under the weather, but we will get those finished for you. And if you have any questions or information, again, a big thanks to all of you that are pointing out these new facility openings ahead of the press releases. It's really helpful. And also it gives us a little bit of an eye-opener to what the press releases say and what the reality is. Greatly appreciated.
Perfect. All right. Well, a great open and shut, Kevin, and we will see you on the next one.
See you then.
If you run a location-based entertainment brand and want to attract more visitors, check out Radius. They use real-time location data and customized marketing strategies to help brands like yours stand out. Radius can boost your foot traffic and build a loyal customer base. Plus, they're offering a complimentary local market analysis to show you exactly how they can help you grow. Curious? Visit radius.co and ask about your free market analysis. That's RAYDIUS.co.
All right. So excellent open and shut. And coming up next, we've got Adam Pratt back with Arcade Corner, diving into all the great stuff from Park Avenue Open Day in London. Let's take it away.
Hey everybody, it's Adam with Arcade Heroes for the Arcade Corner. Been a few weeks since I've been on. In part, that's because just news in the industry has been pretty dry for the most part. I mean, there have been things going on, mainly to come out of the AAA Expo in China that took place a few weeks ago, and we discussed that already. LAI Games had announced that they are carrying Asphalt 9 Legends Arcade DX Plus, quite a mouthful there, and I've been following up or trying to follow up on a bunch of other games, but just so much of it's been hurry up and wait. And I suppose if I trafficked in rumors, I could keep clicks flowing and whatnot, but I hate that. Nobody, at least on the video side of the industry, seems to like rumors anyways. On the pinball side of the industry, it's big, and oddly enough, a lot of rumors turn out to be accurate. The unveil of Steve Ritchie, aka the King of Pinball, his next game is supposed to be unveiled sometime this month, as Jersey Jack themselves have stated that. The rumors have all been stating that it would be Sonic the Hedgehog, and a teaser poster that they put out seems to indicate that. However, Jersey Jack's done some head fakes before, and I was joking elsewhere online that it'd be kind of funny if it was a head fake to a Lord of the Rings pinball, because the way that they put that the king returns, and they had a circle behind his head in blue with the Sonic the Hedgehog blue, kind of referring to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie posters, but the language is a Lord of the Rings sort of thing. Yeah, that would throw everybody for a loop. But anyways, as of this recording, that hasn't been announced yet as to what it is exactly. As well as I've been trying to get information on a bunch of games that were promised to start shipping in May and they didn't. And I believe that's due to parts delays and things of that nature. As anybody in manufacturing knows, that even if you're lacking one part that it takes to put an arcade machine together, it's not going to ship out. And so if there's delays on any particular component, then that can push things back. And so I know Disney Speedstorm Arcade by Adrenaline Amusements is one of those cases. I'm not sure about Nickelodeon Kart Racers Arcade by Andamero USA. I know that was also promised for May, but I've been trying to get an answer on that one. Haven't heard anything back yet. And we also have things that are shipping out in a limited sense. There's the John Wick Continental Pursuit by Blue Motion Games, which hit Dave & Buster's and is available internationally, basically available everywhere except for the United States. United States, it'll start shipping in August. But from what I've been hearing, that game is little bit incomplete. I have talked with Blue Motion about that. They're going to be rolling out updates on that very soon, and it should have all 3 levels, but at least the ones that first arrived out there only had 1 level. And then Stranger Things Arcade by Raw Thrills is, as far as I'm aware, that is all complete. But just the way that they announced that is a little bit unusual, where the announcement and the press release made it sound like it was available, but when I talked to them, they said it wouldn't be for a little while. And so I know you can pre-order it. And, same thing with all these other games that I've mentioned up to this point. You can contact your preferred distributor and place an order. It just may be weeks or even months before any of that stuff ships, which to me, it's always a little bit frustrating to as an operator, because with pre-orders, you don't get to only pay like a small deposit. You have to pay 100% upfront for something, and then you have to sit there and wait for weeks or months on end to get your product and for it to start generating revenue. And that's just kind of sucks, especially for a lot of us who may not have a large buffer of capital to rely on to be able to get things or to be able to wait on things like that. But all of those things aside, Kevin Williams sent along this Park Avenue Open Day photo album. And so we will go through that together. And so this is a tradition that different distributors such as Electrocoin and UDC have held for many years. I believe this is in London, but Kevin can correct that record if it's wrong. But this is basically a showcase of the latest equipment that they have available for their customers and clients over in the UK and across Europe. I've never heard of them shipping stuff out to the States, but still, if you find yourself operating in the European theater somewhere, then one of these products are available now. I'm not sure what the pricing is. Just contact one of them directly and you can find out. And sometimes there are indicators here of other things that will head further west over to North America. But from what I've seen, a vast majority of the content that we're going to be covering today is Chinese. And right as that thought was formulating in my brain, I'd move over to this very American product, pinball. But Retro Arcade Specialist UK Limited had these 3 Stern pinball machines, including the brand new Transformers. And so that's one of the few games that did actually ship in May, as opposed to something that was promised and didn't ship out. But Pokemon, I've heard lots of things about that one, performing very well in sales as well as on location. Haven't heard yet on Transformers. At first, when I heard it would be Transformers, I was kind of not excited at all. But once I saw the game and the different features, I was like, yeah, this is actually pretty cool. It's definitely a strong fan service game. Now, I watched Transformers as a kid, but I barely remember it because I haven't seen any of the episodes again since I was a child. But still, just they put some innovative features in it, including a what's called a split flipper mode, where one player plays on one flipper and the other player plays on the other, but it's a competitive mode, and so that's pretty cool thing. Now, I'm sure you could implement that into pretty much any game, but still, that was a nice little touch that they added to things. But a lot of fans were also perplexed by the Optimus Prime toy, which doesn't really do anything. It's just what's called a bash toy, where the pinball just hits it. And he also has tiny arms, almost like a T-Rex, where he didn't have tiny arms in the cartoons, as far as I remember. And so like that's just the only thing that seems disappointing about that particular game, was the Optimus Prime toy doesn't transform. It's not animatronic. The Megatron toy is animatronic. If you get the premium or LE models, and it'll move around and fire up pinball out of its cannon and such. But yeah, but those things aside, it looks like a great game. Not sure when I'll be able to come across it. Looks like Retro Arcade is also representing Polycade, and this is the first time that I can recall that Polycade has shown up in Europe. Perhaps it has before, and I just missed it. But I haven't heard of Polycade doing anything different in a while. For a time, they were actually trying to add exclusive content to their platform. If you're not familiar with them, it's essentially like, I guess you could, if you're familiar with Steam on PCs, they have their own kind of licensed version of that, and it locks things down. It's to particularly curated games that they've licensed. It's like a bunch of Atari IP, because this is done by one of Nolan Bushnell's sons, and some other games, and then it just runs on a timer, as opposed to games specifically tailored for a coin-op experience. This can work for coin-op or pay-to-play or free play sort of thing. It's just, in my opinion, I can't recall a time other than maybe the 1970s where time-to-play worked, where it made a lot of money. And then, of course, in a multi-game sort of thing, and you have that control panel that just has a ton of buttons on it. For a lot of people, that's just not very appealing when you're in an arcade setting. But it may work in the right space, particularly a free play arcade. Now, Electrocoin, this is they've long been a partner with Konami. And so Konami has been making some strides out west again, but they've been very quiet about it. They haven't been set up with any distributors outside of in Europe with Electrocoin with that. But here in North America, I am aware that they are selling equipment to operators, but it seems like they're doing it directly as opposed to dealing with a distributor. Now, I could be wrong about that, but unfortunately, just Konami's very quiet, and I'm aware of one person out there who I need to talk to and get some more official details. I know that they actually do have an IAPA booth, like IAPA in November in Orlando, and they're going to be in the West area. We could call that the doldrums, from what I'm hearing about it. But regardless, if you're over in Europe and you want the latest Dance Revolution, go to Electrocoin. They'll be able to help you out with that one. And I can't remember what the subtitle is on that one in particular. We have Football Champ, which this is being carried over in the States by Jet Games USA, and it's called Football Frenzy. If I recall, this was at Amusement Expo, but here it is, where it looks like through Electrocoin, and available just in time for the World Cup to be happening. Good luck to all those involved. I have a number of redemption games available, as well as crane variations. Looks like egg cranes and capsule cranes and other things, and a variety of Chinese-made equipment, which UDC has been carrying a lot of stuff from various Chinese manufacturers for a while now and offering those into Europe. You have these very popular high-earning coin pushers, where Pop by Dizzy Divers, that's available through ELOT, and it looks the same here. Tornado, which over here in the States, that's available through LAI Games, but UDC's version is a little bit different as far as the art package go, but I assume the gameplay will be the same. A Galaxy Hunter, I've heard a lot of things about this one. That's also available through LAI here in the States. That is a very high-earning title, and some FECs are very, very happy with that one. UDC's also worked a lot with Ace Amusement, and here's a few of those games from them, including Shooting Carnival and Biker's Madness, Jet Ski, I believe that was. I think there was another photo of that. The latest version of Step Maniacs, and Step Revolution, who makes this, has a new game on the way. It told me a little bit about it at Amusement Expo, but probably either IAPA Europe or IAPA itself is when we'll most likely see that. And just another angle, the Ace Amusement titles that are available to them. Oh yeah, and the eClaw 2.0, which debuted at IAPA 2025 last year. And some bigger mechanical gun games, such as Gun Saloon by iFlying or A Flying, I guess that's what that company is called. But it's kind of cool to me to see more of these electromechanical games make a comeback using newer technology. And there's probably a lot of stuff that could be done there. Some capsule machines, those have been popular throughout Asia and becoming more popular in the West as well. Some redemption games, Puck Off. This is kind of looks like the zombie. Is that a Zombie Invader? I think that Tokata does, but with a hockey theme. Instead, another view of Racing Extreme, Jet Ski Racer. That's what that one was called, which we have not seen either of these ones out in North America yet. So I'm not sure if anybody will be carrying those or not. But if you're in Europe and you're interested in games of this nature, you're in luck. And this is something they've had for a while. I think the company's called Archer Amusement out of China, this is like Sega's My, but is a variation or it's a unique thing based on that. I think mostly Chinese music, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. But Dance Show, that's been available through UDC for a while across Europe. And some people giving those coin pushers a try, and Transformers. And a ticket game, Colorama Plus. I remember Colorama from a long time ago, back in the 90s, as a redemption game. And so I guess this is a new one. But anyways, we're a little bit past our time here, but that's the latest of what's happening. Hopefully we'll have some more news here to talk about next week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
All right. Well, thanks, Adam, for a great arcade corner. And as I'm on this week's Sound Off number 124, Kevin covers the recent Park Avenue Open Day, as well as that Adam just did, and more on this Tuesday, June 9th. So that is coming up June 9th. And also, as I mentioned on News You Should Know, next week I'll have a guest gab with Chris Rich, the VP of Financial Services over at Roller, to discuss their new Roller Capital product in partnership with Adyen. All right. That is this week's LBX show. Brandon Wiley signing off. Stay tuned and keep kicking ass.